Hey everyone, I'm back with another business spotlight. This week we're going to be talking about Stephanie Ruth, who is the genius behind Live and Breathe Reiki. So for Stephanie today, we're going to be looking at two charts. We're looking at her business name, the legal business name, the LLC, which is going to be Live and Breathe Reiki LLC, and then also looking at just Live and Breathe Reiki, which is really her Instagram handle here, and looking at these two charts and the energies that they bring. Now, keep in mind that Stephanie is a Reiki master, a best-selling author, an intuitive and a tarot reader. So there's a lot that she does. And I haven't looked at actually the title of her book as part of this mini read. I would be curious to see because there's a theme to the energies of these two charts, which makes sense, right? The only difference really is the LLC. So we're having some very similar energy. So it'd be interesting to see if that theme continued or had changed. But we're just looking at the Live and Breathe Reiki LLC and Live and Breathe Reiki for today's mini read. So in the legal business name, this is with the LLC, there's a 14-5 foundation. Now, if you saw my post from earlier this week, 14-5 is typically a number that we want to try and avoid in most businesses because the 5, it really niches an audience. I like to use the example of if you had your funnel, right? Your 7 could be this really big open funnel, and then you turn it upside down, you have your small part facing up. That's like having the 5. So when it's in a foundation, it can niche your audience. So it's typically, even though there's some great qualities to a 5, and I'll get to that, it's usually kind of the costs can kind of outweigh the benefits in a lot of cases. In addition, the 5 is also very ungrounding, which is one of the reasons we'll try to avoid it. And then the 14 is this number that brings intense energy. So usually this is not a number that we would want to see. But I can certainly see why the 5 is showing up here. The 5 is a very, very psychic number. So it is a number that I often do see in psychic businesses because in that respect, it fits what they're doing. They are intuitive, they're doing, intuitive businesses, psychic businesses. It really fits what they do. But again, you just need to think about kind of the cost that can come along of potentially niching in your audience and creating some ungrounded energy, which is typically what people want to avoid when, they're starting a business. What's interesting as well is that as you are someone who has written a book, 14-5 and 5 generally is associated with writing. And people who have 14-5s in their own chart, if a person has a 14-5 as a soul destiny, then often they are someone who ends up writing a book. So I almost wonder, right, if this number has shown up in your business name because it's in your own chart. And so it kind of was a way of expressing and working through that. But just to kind of be aware of the energy that comes with it. The 14-5, in addition to being the foundation of the legal business name, is also then in the success of Live and Breathe Reiki. So what you achieve. Now, in terms of, again, the benefit the 14-5 can have is for coaches because the 14 is very reflective. It can help clients then to reflect upon themselves, upon their lives, and have a lot of deep learning. So that is the one profession, I say coaches, but coaches, counselors, therapists, whatever your exact title is, you understand the profession I'm getting at. When you are in that role, it actually can have some benefit and serve a purpose. Again, just being aware of, the other elements that come along with it and if it's something that you want to do. Now, the other number that shows up very heavily in this business name is the 8, because for the legal business name, you have 8 as the abilities as well as success. And the 8 is fitting so well for what you do. The 8 is the most grounded number. Again, we saw this in our last business spotlight with Libby. There were 5s and 8s, how that could balance out the grounding of the 8, balancing some of the ungroundedness of the 5. but it's also body work. So Reiki is an example, even though it might not be as physically working on the body in many cases, it's still body work. So it's a great number for that and represents that very well, really helping people to get into their body, center in their bodies, just become more one with their bodies, grounded. It's great. So this part is serving you very, very well, and I like very nicely. Not to say again that the 14-5 can't be serving you, but just to be aware of some of the challenges that can be coming up with that energy as well. Because in Live and Breathe Reiki, the Instagram name, there's a 5-5 foundation, and then again an 8-8 in the abilities and a 14-5 in success. So really this entire business, it's made up of 5, 14, and 8. It really is a focus on these energies. So it's a lot of what you do is going to be helping people reflect. It's going to be helping people to ground, center, become more one in their bodies, feel emotions, and very psychic, very intuitive. There was one more thing I wanted to say. Yes, because when I spoke to you, you did mention, goodness, I should have written it down, but wanting to kind of help people. I forget if you use the word assertive, but the point is, the 5 is also Aries energy. So there's a little bit of this energy. I could tell from some of what you were talking about that the Aries aspect of that 5 is fitting what you're trying to get people to kind of step into. So one of those cases where, again, if I were naming someone's business, my training has taught me all those 5s and the 14-5s to be like, oh my God, no, this is not going to do well. But I'd be very curious again to hear from you. How do things go? Do you feel like you have a bit of a niche audience? From us speaking, you feel like it sounded like, you don't try to limit yourself, but I would almost kind of wonder if you really reflect on really who it is that comes to you. Have they kind of niched themselves, if you will? But again, there's the 8s helping to counteract the ungroundedness. So how does it feel? Do you feel like you're really grounded within your business? Can you relate to maybe some of that floaty energy, being very sensitive? You're someone clearly who's going to be psychic and intuitive, and that's really certainly coming forth in what you do. So yeah, I would definitely love to hear from you about how much you see this energy fitting with your business. And it would certainly be curious, to see in terms of the title of the book, did these themes continue? Did they change? So who knows? Might have to do another spotlight for you on that at another time. Hope you enjoyed. Bye-bye.